your divorce, I wanted to ask you, what's one thing you learned about yourself coming out of that marriage?
So let me clarify with mine. Mine had trigger warning. Mine had issues of DV as well as stalking.
Oh, okay.
So mine was not the normal course of action. So I had to do a lot of other things for my safety and my protection. So adding a layer of trying to start over plus making sure my protection was in place, that's something I don't wish on anyone.
Gotcha.
But making the decision to end a relationship was hard. However, I had to own the fact that that wasn't my person. And so part of what I learned about myself is that it's okay to make a mistake, but it's also crucial to know when it's time to leave and to give yourself enough grace to make that decision. Because when I was making a decision, I had people give me their 2 cents and they're giving me all their opinions. But my stance was, you're not living my life.
That's right.
Where I had gotten to the point where I was developing panic attacks because I knew I was in a space I didn't need to be in. And so when you're with the person and you're having panic attacks, and I remember what did it, I came to him one day and I was like, the weight of everything is too much. I'm having panic attacks. This doesn't feel right. And he politely tapped me on my shoulder and said, you need to try harder. And I was like, okay, that's okay. That's my cue. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. That's tough. Yeah. Because the thing about divorce is, none of us when we get married, none of us walk down the aisle believing that we're actually going to get divorced, you know. And having to make that transition is just like, but I have to do it. I know my struggle was I'm like, I said till death do us part. And I was the one that initiated the divorce. And I was like, wow, actually saw my breaking point.
Hmm.
I was like, wow, Sean, yeah, Sean, you actually doing this. It's one thing if she would have filed, but I was the one that did it. And I stayed in the marriage 5 years longer than I should have.
I'll say so for me, when he heard till death do us part, that wasn't a suggestion for him. He meant that. It was not a suggestion. He was like, oh, say less. If that's the only way this is going to end, that's the way it's going to end. And so when I tell people, let your no be no and your yes be yes, that's not something you dangle at a person as an ultimatum. That's not something say, if you don't give me my way, I'm going to leave you. Because a lot of things need to happen before you make that final decision. And it's only if you've done all that you know to do, from counseling to prayer to doing the things to working on each other individually, that's your last option.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
final round. That's the final round. That should not be on the table initially. I just knew I started seeing the signs when he started saying, I can't see myself living in this world without you. I've seen enough Lifetime movies to know that was my cue. When he started showing up at my job, stalking me to make sure I was where I was supposed to be, going through my car, that was my cue.
That's tough. And I know we didn't really, get into too much.
Mhm.
I just asked, that one question. And so I thanks for clarifying that. Um, you know, because that's definitely a conversation, just trying to help some people who might be going through a divorce. You just never know what people are dealing with. I remember we were talking about separating, and we were like leaders in the church, like we were leaders in the marriage ministry. And so, yeah. And so my whole world was crushed because I was like, and then I started getting inboxes and people were like, so if y'all getting divorced, so what about us? And so you talk about the weight of, oh my, I feel horrible. And I know that's why I stayed a little longer because I was like, this this gotta work. I mean, here it is. We
Because you
over
were the poster child.
yeah, yeah. Like, yeah, shining relationships and mirrors go together, and it's just like it was bad, but
You're telling people how to stay married, and you two are the poster childs on the flyers, and yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that kind of self condemnation is real, and I had to get over that. To realize, like, I'm still human. Hey, I can love again and all other good stuff. But man, I was a tough hole to get out of, mentally and emotionally.